This week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast is brought to you by listeners like you. Head on over to patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast and subscribe today. Fans, founders, and insiders like you help us keep the Run, Eat, Drink podcast going, and we thank you for your support.
I am Marco Cesero, and you are listening to Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Welcome to the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We feature destination races from across the country. And after the race, we take you on a tour of the best local food and beverage to celebrate. So whether you are an elite runner or a back of the packer like us, you'll know the best places to accomplish, explore, and indulge on your next runcation. Hey, welcome to episode 188 of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm your co-host, Dana, and I am so excited. We're closing in on 200.
We are. It's been a slower, steady uphill climb because we don't do as many of the quick bites out in the feed anymore.
Well, that's true. We are, if you count the quick bites and everything, we're way over 200.
Yeah, I think our feed would tell us 300.
Something like that.
I don't know.
But anyway, hi.
We put out the content, and we're just so happy that you're here with us while we recap some running, some eating, and some drinking.
Absolutely. And I'm excited about what we're bringing everybody today.
Why?
Well, we're going to talk about the return of a community race.
Yes.
This week on the show, which is so wonderful to see. And I know that they're starting to come back. And in some areas, they've come back, they've gone away. In some areas, they've come back and they've stayed. And in some places, they haven't come back at all yet. So I'm thrilled to report that we're going to be talking about one of our community races here locally that has returned.
We had a Runcation Nation meetup.
We did.
Yes. And so very glad about that when that happens.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun episode this week for the run portion.
Indeed.
And I'm also excited because I believe that this week will round out the last of our Alaska content.
Yes.
For
now
everybody that we have recorded and that we're going to put into the main feed for the show.
Right. I think there are a couple that we may have held back for patrons of the show.
Yes, we do have some stuff that's patron only, but this will be the last of our Alaska content for the main show episodes.
It's true.
And I'm thrilled because, again, much like races coming back, we got to go back to a place that we loved so much during our first trip up to the Great White North.
It was so good to see. It was still there and still doing extraordinary business. They were super busy.
Yes.
At Glacier Brewhouse.
And we are going to be talking about both food and drink from Glacier Brewhouse in Anchorage, Alaska tonight.
Such a great place. So all around, some fun stuff.
Yeah.
We had a Halloween race, and that kind of starts out our shout-outs portion of the show.
Yes, do tell.
Well, I referenced a Runcation Nation meetup, and if you paid attention to social media on Saturday, we posted some pictures, as did Jessica, a.k.a. Harley Running Gal, on Instagram. She was at the Goblin Gallop 5K here in Cape Coral with us and finished second in her age group.
Very nice.
Yeah, and she posted pictures of her medal, her award, all of that. That was so good to see. Her smile and the way she reacted when we showed up to the race, and she just came over and just threw her arms around us. And that is the kind of Runcation Nation meetup that I love.
Oh, absolutely. And I also just loved seeing how strong she looked.
She did.
Coming off of the time with the hashtag TheraBeast as you're rehabbing from surgery. She's looking great, and clearly it's working for her. So fast, you might even say that maybe, she had surgical enhancement.
Physical therapist enhancement.
She did.
Yes.
She did.
Yeah.
So
as the TheraBeast, Kristen is great. So.
She is.
So congratulations.
I was going to say, and we're also shouting out JoJo and Susie from the Runcation Nation.
I'm so happy that they got to meet up again. They met up in Gatlinburg in Tennessee, I believe, with Darlene. All of them, there were pictures from a breakfast they had. And it was time for Flying Pig, which normally happens in May. The makeup race happened this past week, and it looked like a blast. It looked like a Disney race in terms of on-course characters and entertainment and interaction and motivation. It's like one we should put on our bucket list.
Yeah, like the expo too. Like
the expo as well.
Seeing all those pigs that were painted and decorated, pig statues, and just what a cool looking event. And we've been told that this is another race that is so widely adopted by the community that it's one that we absolutely have to put on our list.
And we love that kind of thing.
Yeah,
anytime a community adopts a race like that.
Absolutely. For me, that is going to be something that I look for when we are looking for races.
100%.
And us seeing that, kind of reaffirming it. And it's so nice to see coming off of the height of the pandemic that this type of event is being so strongly embraced by the community.
That the environment and the buzz and the energy, everything about it seems like classic races.
Yeah.
And I think JoJo even went as far to say on social media, correct me if I'm wrong, JoJo, info@runeatdrink.net, that she would do it again, and doesn't normally repeat.
Wow, that is high praise.
So
high praise indeed.
Congratulations to Susie and JoJo. You rock.
Absolutely.
And those are the shout outs. Although Jennifer Hall is celebrating a birthday as we record this. So happy birthday to Fun Size Jen. And she showed off her virtual Boston swag.
Super cool.
So in a picture this week. So happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yay. And thank you for your support of the show. If anybody else has shout outs, we scour social media. We try.
We do.
Sometimes we fail or we miss things. Please let us know at info@runeatdrink.net.
That's info@runeatdrink.net.
So that we can shout you out. Or you could call us and leave us a message. Well, you could record a little voice memo and email it. Or you could call and leave the voicemail at
941-677-2733. That's 941-677-2733.
Congratulations to all those that we've shouted out and those that we may have missed as well.
Absolutely. So before we jump into the run portion or the race portion of this week's run segment, let's talk a little bit about training updates.
Well,
because you've been pounding the pavement and you've been adding some strength training to your regimen.
I would say
and cursing my name.
Yes. You said I needed to strengthen muscles, but we mentioned the TheraBeast. We mentioned Kristen, and she said the same thing and gave me exercises that I have been woefully inconsistent with throughout September.
The further out from therapy you've gone, the
September and August, I was woefully absent from that. That was woefully absent from my routine. It should have been, but I have started to incorporate that and curse your name and remember. And I fondly remember the smile on her face as she said, "It's good. It's great. We're going to do great." Always very positive.
Oh, yeah. I remember that smile.
We're just going to do it. Not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to be smiling the whole time we do it together. Even though she just shows you a couple and says, "Okay, do it." So
you've been killing it with lower body strength exercises.
Indeed.
In addition to some speed work and some long runs.
I've been doing cadence drills, acceleration gliders, and I've been trying out different ratios to see what I can maintain as far as number of steps walking, which I think is a good focus to have, because in the run, I find I got the number of steps that I need, but then I tend to slow down in the walk if I'm not focused enough.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
I talk about that a little bit in the live stream
Yeah.
that I'm doing. You know, the urge, if you're tired especially, is to slow down, and you can slow down so much that you eat up any gain that you make during your run segment. You don't want to do that.
And I think that if you slow down too much, that's why I'm playing with some run, walk, run ratios. Some 525, some 530, 1030, 624, which you refer to as the magical ratio for me. Just to see what I can maintain, because I think if you choose the wrong run ratio, or you go out too fast in a run, training run, or in a race, then you can't have that finish that Jeff talks about. Jeff Galloway, America's coach and our coach, talking about finishing strong and being faster in the end, and very lovingly, affectionately passing your friends and fellow runners at the end.
Right.
That's what you want, that strong feeling. So that's why I'm testing all that out, in addition to making sure that I have yoga programs that I've been doing throughout the week that address what he calls weak links. Like if I am feeling soreness around my IT band and in my quads and hamstrings, just making sure that I support those muscles in that way also. So that's me.
Super smart.
You?
Well, it's been a lot of, doing the Couch to 10K program. So I've been focusing on working on a 1-to-2 ratio.
How do you like that?
I'm not a real fan of it, honestly. It's hard to believe that what a difference 5 seconds makes, but it really does. And
That's too hard for me.
it's not that it's too hard.
I know it's not too hard for you. I know you can do it.
It's
don't
not
know if
even.
you like it.
I don't, not really. But then again, it depends on what your ultimate goal is. I think I might like it more if I lengthened that out. Maybe if I were to do like maybe a 40-second run and then an 80-second walk.
Oh, making the segments longer rather than shorter.
Yeah, in this particular case, I think that once you're getting into this now, for me, it might be better to go longer than to go shorter if I wanted to maintain that ratio.
But you said if I want to.
Right. I'm still experimenting with it. As we're recording this, we'll have the next run on that Couch to 10K program a little later this evening, and I'm going to stick with the 20/40 this week, but I may play around with ratios a little bit, depending.
If you had to say right now, what's your favorite ratio?
I tend to default to 15/45, or that 1-to-3 ratio. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe even going to a 20/60 would be better off. It's hard to believe what a difference that 5 seconds makes. But again, like I explained in the run, compounded over time, that extra 5 seconds makes a huge difference in your time.
This is exactly what I was talking about with playing around with the ratios over the last couple of weeks as we headed to our first live Disney race.
Right.
I want to make sure that I choose the right ratio so I'm not dying at the end or puking, because our coach is anti-puking and anti-dying on the course.
Yeah.
So it sounds very similar.
It is. So that's where I'm at right now. And I incorporated this week's run that we're about to start talking about into the long run portion of the Couch to 10K program. So ahead of the 5K, I did an additional 2.2 miles.
Yeah.
Just to pad the total distance, because that was going to be all about total time on your feet and total distance run. And that's what we were up to.
Yeah.
So 5.3 miles was the run this past weekend. And that leads us right into our local run that has returned. This is a race that we did last year for the first time.
We did it last year, and I did it better in terms of costume last year because I did actually prepare for that. Dressed up as Black Widow because that's the only costume I own. I really need the help of the Runcation Nation in formulating different costume options for myself. But that's a whole other discussion. However, I did wear my beer skirt, and we did see some great costumes and Jessica. And so this run, I want to say, that was one of the first live runs that we came back to last year, but also it was higher attendance this year. There were more people.
It
There were
seems
more
so,
runners,
yes.
more registrants.
I think at this point, the people who might have been reticent to go to a large outdoor event with a lot of people have gotten beyond that fear now. And you're seeing more people return to events. So that's what it seemed like to me.
There were people that were decked out in the tulle skirts.
Oh yeah,
And costumes like Minnie and Mickey and
you had
Snow
whole
White
families
and-
dressed up in a single costume theme for the whole family.
Yeah.
And it was a really cute event.
There was coming up behind us and that past us. I guess they started late so that they could be the groom and the bride, like the bride running after the groom. It was so adorable.
Very
so
cute.
adorable.
And this is a race that starts at a local waterfront park here in Cape Coral called Jaycee Park. And
Beautiful sunrise.
it was a bright and early run at 7:30 in the morning was the time that it started. And it was coming on the heels of the cold front passing through here, bringing us some fall-like weather for the first time.
So it wasn't as humid as it could have been, which is great.
Right. And then
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And then we start in that park, we run some cul-de-sacs, then there's a long straightaway that will take you out to the main thoroughfare that gets you to this park. And then we dip into the neighborhoods a little bit on both sides and then basically come back to the park. It's
Where we started.
It's a nice out and back course. They have one water stop on the course. This time they were doing it a little bit differently. They were handing out little bottles of water.
True enough.
As opposed to pouring water into little cups.
Yes.
So I think that it worked out quite well.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't a lot of mess. You could carry that water bottle with you, which I carried it with me for the rest of the race, and then drank it at the end.
And if you registered early enough, you got an orange shirt with the Goblin Gallop logo, and you got a medal that was like a little orangish pumpkin.
Yeah, it's like a copper or aged bronze.
Yeah.
Jack-o'-lantern.
So cute.
Very, very cute. We got the medal last year. This year, we didn't register until I think close to 5 p.m. the day before.
True enough.
So we were a little bit late to the party for any swag this time.
And that's okay, because the kids race that followed ours was so...
It was. And there were a lot of
kids race.
And there were plenty of kids that actually ran on the race course with us during the main event, but then this was a dedicated little race for the kids.
Yeah. And so they had to have the medals for the kids because it's just perfect.
So now you were attacking this race with a bit of purpose, and we started together, but we didn't really run together.
No.
So talk to me about your course strategy. What were you doing?
I didn't. Well, I know you were doing the live, and I know that your purpose was different from my purpose.
Yes.
It was time on your feet and endurance in the build up to the a little less than 5.5.
Yeah, like I've told people before, listening to me do the Couch to 10K program, long run day, you can walk the entire thing. And that's basically what I did.
I wanted to try the 5K distance at my proven and trusted ratio, because this next weekend we will, for your birthday weekend, by the way, be at Disney for their first live races since 2019. And we decided to do the 5K and the 10K because at the time we registered, I thought, I want to come back to the half distance, but I want to do it right and have a nice progression, and I need to build in more strength training and that. And so I wanted to give myself time leading up to Jeff Galloway's race or the Donna or both to get to that distance and not feel so much pressure at a Disney race to maintain that 16 minutes a mile. And I know that a lot of people in the Runcation Nation can meet that no problem, but I am truly back of the pack. And that's not to diminish my effort or my own race. I just didn't want to put that extra pressure on myself, even though I really would love to have returned to that 2-course challenge from back in 2019, where I did set a personal best for the half marathon distance before the knee surgery and all of that. I just wanted to not put that kind of pressure on myself, like I said.
Well, and we also have to remember that your knee surgery this time was much more involved than your previous one.
Yes.
And, we will casually throw out terms like got my knee scoped.
Yes. True.
This, and yes, while technically you got your knee scoped, this wasn't just, a meniscus repair. This was a lot of other stuff that they did while they were in there. Yeah. So it's been a longer, slower recovery getting back to full.
And I think that the challenge over the summer with the weight loss and the different types of workouts throughout the summer have helped in the recovery, but I didn't want to put that pressure on myself. I wanted to see if at the 5K distance, which is half of the longest distance we're going to be running back to back next weekend, wanted to see if I could maintain at that 624 ratio. And I wanted to test out whether I needed to have a 1 mile warm up or a half mile warm up. Because in the longer distances, I normally walk the first mile briskly.
Yeah.
And then start the intervals. So,
because the first mile is always a liar.
It's always a liar, and I don't really feel good until mile 2, which is, I know, silly in a 5K, because then you turn around and it's over. Although a 5K sometimes feels longer than the longer distances, and I know that's weird.
That's because your body hasn't fully warmed up until, like you said, after mile 1, and then it's over. So a third of that race is that first crappy mile.
Yeah, so I'm like, this is lasting forever. It's never ending. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but I feel like that. So I tried to maintain. Actually, I did maintain. Let me not diminish my effort. I did maintain the 624 after the half mile warm up, and it might end up being like a mile warm up on both races next weekend. But I did maintain it, and I did stay under 16 minutes a mile. And shout out to Jessica, who ran me in, and also Dan Rams from the Cape Coral Running Group, who ran me in. Dan started to, and then he wanted to get some photos of the other Cape Coral Running Group members who were there. So he ran with me a little bit and then got some pictures with you. And Jessica continued the rest of the way. And she was just one of the biggest cheerleaders of the Runcation Nation and the podcast coming into the finish. So I can't thank her enough, because it made the finish feel so good.
Absolutely.
So I did it. So I'm thinking that I found the ratio, but I just wanted not to rely on my memory of it and wanted to make sure that it was going to be the one I could maintain and the walking pace was not going to get too slow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very nice. So I use the race as an extension or as part of the long run for the Couch to 10K. You used the race as a test bed for ratios for an upcoming event.
Yes.
Very nice.
All good. Felt really good about the effort and felt really good about supporting the United Way.
Absolutely. And this is a charity race event that supports the United Way, which is an umbrella organization, really, that filters money to a variety of causes in communities across the country. So we're going to have a link to them in the show notes.
Sure.
We are thrilled that this local event is back and was so well attended and just so much fun ahead of Halloween.
Yeah.
So it was
I
just regret to see it.
I regret not dressing up next year.
Next year.
You know, I could get some help from the Runcation Nation and I won't be.
We have some pretty amazing costumers in the Runcation Nation. I'm sure you'll get the help you need.
I'm sure.
So,
Yes.
Of course, anytime we talk running, you know that it does make us work up an appetite.
Yes. And I know that we have featured some really excellent plant-based and vegan options here locally. We celebrated this past week was World Vegan Day. Who knew that was a thing?
Not me.
But it was. And but we still have some indulgent and awesome meals from Alaska, and one that we couldn't hold back from the regular show.
No, and if you listened to our episode from Anchorage, Alaska from 2 years ago, you heard us talk about this place. Glacier Brewhouse in downtown Anchorage, Alaska is this wonderful place that's almost hidden, like on a main thoroughfare in downtown Anchorage. And you walk in and there's just this enormous fireplace, this huge bar with tons of taps.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a lodge feel to it.
Very log cabin like feel.
But
homey.
Their food game and their beer game,
it's so good,
were 2 years ago absolutely out of this world.
And last time we went, we did it after the half, and it was more of a celebratory dinner where we had a little bit more expensive entrees.
Yes.
In the fish and in the steak and in the crab that we had. This time after the 5K, after the 5K at the Anchorage Run Fest, we revisited the favorite for some lunchtime and small bites and still some great brews.
Yes. So we decided to go for, apps, I guess would be the best way,
I would
appetizers.
Say, yeah. Small plates.
And they have this tower.
Oh.
Let's talk about that. Let's start with the tower.
We're going to start with the starters. Well, that's the way it's listed on their website, which we'll have a link to in the show notes.
Yeah. It's called the Brewhouse Appetizer Tower, and this is for those that can't make up their mind. And honestly, it's so big that it's two people splitting it. We didn't leave hungry.
It's very tall on the table.
Physically tall. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is jam-packed with amazing seafood. So
tell us what it has, Aim.
It has garlic prawns, calamari, and Alaska smoked salmon dip. Now, the smoked salmon dip we had as a part of our big celebratory meal.
Oh, yeah.
Which
I wanted that. I was going to get that
by itself.
If I had to. Yes.
But it was that same serving size in this appetizer tower. Do you know how some samplers have here are your favorites, but they're smaller.
Scaled down.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't do that here.
That's why it is like a gargantuan tower.
And it's basically 3 full-sized appetizers.
3 full-sized appetizers, one of which we returned to because we couldn't stop thinking about it for 2 years. Alder smoked salmon, alder smoked Alaska sockeye salmon, lightly dressed with Greek yogurt, lemon zest, capers, and dill. Served with alder grilled artisan bread and crisp sweet gherkins, which I love.
And when they say alder, they're referring to the alder wood, which is a common smoking wood up in Alaska. And this is, I think, one of the best fish dips I have ever had, period, anywhere. And this is coming from somebody who grew up on fish dip here in Florida. That's a very common thing here. Smoked fish included, because we do a lot of smoked mullet here.
Yes, in Florida, that's more common.
Very much so. And this is served in this little crock. And
it's so cute, like a little mason jar almost.
Yeah, and it's not so pureed or so mashed that the salmon loses its toothsomeness, loses its bite. You end up, getting just phenomenal texture in the meat in the salmon dip. And the use of the Greek yogurt was so smart.
What I love in that jar is that you can see the pieces of salmon, and that the yogurt and other spices and lemon zest and it's layered on top.
It's like a savory parfait.
So you can get in there and spoon it out on that really crusty and that amazingly deliciously charred bread.
That bread
amazing
is, and you can hear Danny agrees.
Danny agrees.
Is insanely good.
It's so good.
The slight smoke you get from it because they char it, on that alder wood. The softness of the interior of the bread, and then that hard crust on the outside.
You can put a lot of that dip on that bread and just have. You could have made a sandwich.
Oh yeah,
out of it, and the gherkins. I just love the tang of those gherkins.
Yeah.
With the lemon zest and capers, the brine, all of that just adds so many layers of different. Like it hits the salty and a little bit of the sweet and a little bit of the tart and just all those notes.
And then your textural notes
with the bread,
with the chewiness of the bread, the crispiness of the bread, the creaminess of the yogurt, yeah, it's just
so good.
So good. And there wasn't a bite left. And I said crock, actually, it's more like a half mason jar.
It is.
And
that's how I felt about it.
And yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic.
I mean, and then another part of it was the garlic prawns.
No, you're partial to shrimp and shellfish.
I am.
Tell us all about
I know that you like the smoked fish.
Oh, yeah.
Having grown up on it. Mm-hmm. But the garlic prawns, jumbo, all natural, Pacific white prawns, garlic, artichoke, artichoke hearts, tomato, fresh herbs, red pepper flake, potato rosemary bread. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you, it was in a sea of that sauce. It looked like a nice, hearty, just butter sauce with those tomatoes and artichoke. And the artichoke was no slouch. And
the pieces were the size of the shrimp.
It was in like a sea of this butter, garlic sauce. And I liked those tomatoes.
The roasted or blistered tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That gave a surprising little pop of sweet and acid to cut through the richness of that butter sauce and the shrimp. We're used to...
So meaty.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, we're used to Gulf shrimp here in Florida. And there's,
but it's different from, like, say, a Key West pink.
Totally different than a Key West pink or an Argentinian pink.
Uh-huh. Those are huge. And these are huge, too.
These were really, really nicely sized, and you could basically make your own crostini with it. And I thought that the shrimp were cooked just to the point of being done. So you didn't have that situation where the tail won't come off, the shrimp ends up. I hate it when places overcook shrimp and you try the pinch trick where
I love that.
Yeah, don't you hate it when it doesn't work?
I hate it when it doesn't work, but it worked on every single one in this dish.
What we're talking about is when you get like tail on shrimp and you go to eat them and you pinch them, you pinch the
tail,
the shell, and pull. If that doesn't come out whole, they probably overcooked the shrimp.
It's probably going to be a little tough, but this was perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
I just loved it. I would have it again. I love the artichoke and the texture it added. And
the tartness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was nothing wrong with that at all. But this was not, I think that the third and final one in the tower was the most unique. And it's going to sound weird to say that.
Because when you hear calamari, normally you have a vision in your mind when you close your eyes and you think of an appetizer that is calamari. Rings.
Yeah. Everybody, if you've ever gone to a restaurant to order a fried calamari appetizer.
Lightly dusted and fried calamari ring.
It's like most restaurants have the same playbook.
Yeah. Which is not necessarily a bad thing because I love me a good set of calamari rings and some of the tentacles that are just but this is called simply the best calamari, not only because it's a reference to an amazing artist in Tina Turner, let's be real, but because it's also just simply the best presentation because you get so much out of it.
Yeah. And I think that this is because on the west coast of the United States, large squid have actually become a problem.
Oh.
And they're fishing them and using them as food, which is great because they're delicious. But the conditions have gotten so good for them that they can be a bit problematic.
I did not know.
Yeah, these are buttermilk battered calamari, and they serve this with a jalapeno lime aioli, fried jalapeno chips.
Yum. Okay.
Now, these are not rings of calamari.
No.
These are, imagine planks of calamari or fingers of calamari, because each one of these is about the size
of like a chicken finger.
Of a chicken finger or a fish finger.
Or
a fish stick.
Yes.
They're enormous. And I think that they're getting these big squid. And because they're getting some really large ones, they're able to do presentations like this. I don't know that we've ever had a calamari appetizer, number one, that has calamari this large.
No, I cannot remember in the history of the show or our lives even.
Two, I don't think that people appreciate that calamari, much like pork and much like shrimp, is a meat. It goes from raw to undercooked to perfect to ruined in no time at all.
Yeah.
And they managed to not only do the biggest pieces of calamari we've ever had, but they stayed plump and juicy and tender.
And the breading was crispy.
And stayed on.
And it was just so huge chunks. Just delightful and delicious.
I can't overstate how big the pieces of calamari were. These were, like you said, chicken finger sized fingers of calamari.
Oh, yes.
They were huge.
Yeah.
And just absolutely incredible. And the aioli is ridiculous, nice and creamy and tart.
But it wasn't super spicy, the jalapeno element.
Even the fried jalapenos weren't.
Right.
Which was kind of nice. And you got a little bit of acid, but not really. I didn't think any appreciable heat. Did you?
No, I didn't get any super spicy heat off that at all. No, it was just a textural element, different than the fried pieces of calamari, and just like a salt and pepper to bring out the brininess. So it was not overly fishy.
100%.
But
the capstone to
the capstone.
Our eating here is actually something that we recorded.
We did.
there at the restaurant.
I think we like devoured that tower. We're like, we're not recording that. Let's just go in.
Their chowder.
Oh my God.
That they do is, I think, one of the most indulgent, silky, flavorful chowders I've ever had.
Hearty Alaska seafood chowder, it's called on the menu.
Uh-huh.
Alaska seafood, roasted corn, shaved fennel, sweet red pepper, crisp bacon, creamy crab broth, splash of dry sherry.
And we recorded a hot take on this item right there in the restaurant. So we're going to play that for you. Hey guys, it's Dana and Amy from the Run Eat Drink podcast at runeatdrink.net. We are still here at the Glacier Brewhouse in Anchorage, Alaska. We've just finished up our 5K run this morning, and we are having comfort food. There's really no other way to put it than that.
It's comfort food, Alaskan style.
Alaskan style.
Yes.
Their hearty Alaska seafood chowder. This is Alaska seafood, roasted corn, shaved fennel, sweet red peppers, crisp bacon, creamy crab broth, and a splash of dry sherry for $9.95. What do you think, Aim?
It's tiny little dices of potato to align with the size of the corn. I get butter, I get sherry, I get seafood goodness from the broth.
It's rich. It's velvety.
It just warms your soul.
The corn pops when you bite into it. It gives you this little pop of sweetness.
Yeah.
The potato is nice and hearty. Mm-hmm. The crab, that taste of the sea, just permeates the entire thing. That is amazing.
I love it.
That I can imagine a bowl of this when it's winter here. Oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah, this is comfort food, Alaska style. You hit it nail in the head. That's amazing. And these are starters.
Yeah.
But you could absolutely do this in a pint
and be happy.
And be very happy.
I am very happy. I'm very happy.
Okay.
So, Glacier Brewhouse is always great for comfort food, great beer.
Yeah, and we're revisiting this place. We want to check them out post-pandemic, or after the major shutdown,
and not being here for 2 years.
And their food game is still amazingly on point.
Yes.
So, come check them out. Glacier Brewhouse, downtown Anchorage.
Yum.
I could drink that soup.
Yes. We need to get on a plane and go get it and drink it.
And I know that, some people will argue that if it's not from Boston, it's not really chowder, but it was chowder and it was glorious.
So good.
And
Isn't it like a creamy white soup with potato that's defined as chowder, like seafood?
I think
Or
so,
no?
but there are some psychopaths out there that think that Manhattan clam chowder has a place at the table, which
that's the red chowder.
yeah, that's fighting words for a lot
Chowder.
of people. And I'm just kidding. If you like that
Anyway.
stuff, you're not a psychopath. You're just wrong.
This was a great meal.
Yes, 100%. We are going to have links to, of course, Glacier Brewhouse in the show notes, but
Yes.
we're not done with Glacier Brewhouse. Let's talk drinks while we're at it, because they are a brewery.
And they have so many different styles that they do so well.
Yeah, now we couldn't decide, and we were very fortunate that we were able to sit down with our beer flights,
Yes.
rather sizable ones.
5?
I believe so.
What, was it 5?
And we didn't cross the streams.
We did not.
We were able to give everybody, it's 5 total.
5, yeah.
And we were able to give everybody a unique set of beers. And we also recorded our hot takes on the beers
Yeah.
right there in the brewery. So let's have a listen. Hey guys, it's Dana and Amy from the Runny Drink podcast at runnydrink.net. We are coming to you, we're recording live inside of the Glacier Brewhouse. And this is a place that calls itself Alaska's Craft Brewery. And this is our second time coming here.
Yes.
We came here last time for an amazing meal. Today we're coming for appetizers and beers.
Yeah.
Just something, a little light fare lunch kind of thing. The problem is an embarrassment of riches when it comes to beer here.
Yes.
And we both ended up doing a flight. And I don't think we've overlapped a single beer.
We have not.
So why don't we talk about the beers that we got, and we'll give you all a hot take on what we're drinking.
Well, the first one I have is the cask conditioned ale, served in the traditional English style from a beer engine and served at 52 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what the flavors are in this one because apparently they rotate or vary.
Okay.
It smells hoppy though.
Okay.
Right off.
It has like a nice golden yellow color, not a lot of cloudiness to it.
No. It's like a citrus dry hop flavor.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah?
Yeah, it smells hoppy. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's very light though.
Yeah.
Light in body. There's almost a celery kind of thing going on with that.
I don't know if I get that.
To me. But
And not much carbonation.
no, it's actually very flat.
Oh. But, I mean, you know, there's their cash conditioned deal, so.
All right, well, I started with one that's a very unique one to this brewery called the Fireweed Courage.
I was looking at getting that one.
And it says a light end of summer beer that represents the beauty after devastation. Made with Alaskan hand-picked fireweed, $1 of every pint of this beer will go to Priceless, who works with the survivors of sex trafficking to rebuild healthy, vibrant, self-sustaining lives. 4.27 ABV, 10 IBUs. Now, this immediately is a very pale yellow
yes.
with a little bit of haze to it.
Almost like a lemonade color.
Oh yeah, good call. Nothing really on the nose. Mildly carbonated
Yeah, I don't get anything on the nose.
with a very bready flavor on the finish.
Oh, yeah.
That's delightful. This is
It's like a bready lager type thing.
yeah, this is something I would
like that.
expect for like a hot weather beer.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Not an Alaskan beer.
What?
I expect that's a hot weather beer.
But it shows, well, so far it shows variety.
And they're
I
very
think,
different.
And I think you're going to see it in all the flight that we've had. So
Yes.
my next one is the Tangerine IPA. The Tangerine IPA, the perfect summertime IPA. So we're having a summertime theme right off.
Okay.
Full of bold notes of mosaic and citra hops, which we know we love from Southern Swells and their education that they gave to us. With loads of tangerine to give the perfect citrus twist. Alcohol, 4.5. Well, 4.4. And IBU is 40.
Okay.
So I think, like when you think of like Ramosa,
Right.
I don't think that it's that high on the IBU. I don't remember, but I guess we'll see. It doesn't look orangish. It looks more like a in between golden and that blonde yellow.
Yes, but a little bit of haze to it.
Just a slight haze,
Not enough to call it a hazy.
no. And I get the citrus notes on the nose. You?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say this is very citrus forward. Yeah. Hello.
And we have food arriving too. So here we go.
Alright.
Yay.
Chowder. Calamari, garlic prawns, smoked salmon dip.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
And enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Plates.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Taste some of this, the Tangerine IPA.
Oh, there's a tartness I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah. Not as sweet as, say, like the Brute IPA of a Gramosa.
No,
From Big Storm.
And not as bitter as I was expecting for it to be at a 40 on the IBU scale.
Yeah, I thought it would have a really bitter finish, but it doesn't, so.
Well, I decided to darken things up a little bit with my next
did?
offering. I am going with their Oatmeal Stout, and their description reads that this is a premium pale malt from the Pacific Northwest, various dark malts and crystal malts combined with rolled oats, nitrogenated, 5.6% ABV, 21 IBU. So this is a very dark brown, like deep chocolate brown color. Absolutely no light passing through it at all. Really heavy mouthfeel.
Heavy.
Yeah, mildly carbonated. This is not. They said it's nitrogenated, so it's a nitro, but it's also got a little bit of acidic bite. So I don't know if it's pure nitrogen. I don't know how they do that. This has a nice roasty, toasty kind of flavor to it. Very reminiscent of.
It smells like almost like the act of coffee.
Yeah, it's got some coffee, certainly some coffee note to it, but also a little brown sugar kind of thing going on.
A little bit of sweetness, very subtle.
It's quite good. I could do a pint of that, no problem. And at 5.6, that's not going to knock your socks off for alcohol.
Yeah. So. Okay, so the next one I got was the Imperial Blonde, which is described as, on their menu, slightly malty, creamy, and smooth. Honey is used to attain the high yet seductive alcohol level. Seductive.
Ooh.
Served in a snifter, I guess, if you get a full one.
If you get a full one.
Alcohol is 9%. IBU is 24. So
okay,
it looks golden in color. No haze to it at all.
No, that one's perfectly see-through.
Yeah.
But deep gold color, nice color.
I get honey notes on the nose.
Yes. And I can see the carbonation in it.
Yeah. Heavier carbonation. It's almost like a cream ale flavor.
Oh.
Like a honey and vanilla.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, I'd have a pint of that one for sure, just like you did the previous.
I was expecting this
beer you had
to be hoppier.
Yeah. And I thought Imperial may be more bitter.
Yes.
Because that's been a characteristic of some of the Imperial.
And that's got a little lingering bitterness after you swallow, but not bad.
I like this a lot. I like this a lot.
And well, you went Imperial Blonde. I just went straight blonde.
Huh.
So crisp and refreshing, centennial hop aroma and smooth creamy finish. Premium two-row barley from the Pacific Northwest lets this beer shine. Alcohol is 4.76, 15 IBU.
A little bit lower than the Imperial.
Yes.
So this will be a good comparison.
It's a little lighter in color.
Yeah, I think when you hold that, this is more golden
Yours,
on
yes.
the Imperial side.
Oh, okay.
What?
This is
Lighter?
a lighter, crisper version of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is another one that I would say would make for a great hot weather beer. Or
Come up to Alaska
I
and we're
know.
having like all these. Well, except for the one that you got that's the darker of your fight.
that stout is no joke.
I like that. That's clean, light finish. Very good.
Yeah, this is a perfect post-race recovery beer.
Very
right there.
bready.
I like that.
Very bready.
A lot.
Yeah.
All right. What's
see.
next?
Raspberry wheat is
Ooh.
next up. This is a recommendation of our server.
And I love wheat beers. So.
I love wheat beer. I love raspberry as long as it's not too tart. This says loaded with Northwest red raspberries. Tart and satiating.
Yes.
Interesting description. This beer is red in color and boasts fruity flavors of red raspberry, 4.76 alcohol by volume, and 12 IBU. 12.
12.
Yeah.
As you would normally expect.
It's got a very light raspberry color, almost like a pink lemonade looking beer.
Yes, and it's very hazy.
It smells like cotton candy to me.
Oh, I definitely get the raspberry on that.
Do you not? It's not bad?
I'm thinking Jolly Rancher
Oh. Okay. I get raspberry for sure.
immediately.
The carbonation is like medium to high. And I don't, it's, it's very refreshing.
Okay, it's a lighter mouthfeel than I was expecting based on the haziness of it. But this is very easy drinking. And there's no bitterness on this at all. Good pick, Aim. Or I should say good referral from our server.
Yes.
She did an amazing job. All right, I'm going with a fruited beer also.
Oh.
I'm doing the Blackberry IPA.
Yeah.
And the menu, this says that this juicy, unfiltered IPA was brewed with using Simcoe, Amaria, and Mosaic hops. Refreshing with blackberries, gives a semi-sweet balance. Alcohol, 7.38%, 58 IBUs.
Ooh.
Now, the appearance on this one is very similar but darker than your raspberry.
It's a darker pink.
That's a darker pink. On the nose, I'm getting a little hint of the blackberry. Oh.
Why do you say, oh?
Okay. That's the only place I get the blackberry though.
On the nose.
On the nose. I'm not getting.
Any blackberry? What do you get?
If you didn't tell me that was a blackberry, I wouldn't know it from the
There's
flavor.
bitterness on the end.
There's
of
a little bitterness on the end. It's a lighter IPA,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't immediately know that's a fruited beer.
It's just a lighter IPA body.
Lighter body IPA is what I meant. Yeah.
And citrusy.
Yeah, the tartness. I'm getting tartness, but I can't immediately identify that as blackberry. Can you?
No.
That's not a bad thing.
No,
it's
no.
just not what I was expecting.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one on your flight.
The last one on my flight is an amber, malty, medium-bodied, with hints of chocolate and caramel from the crystal malt. Munich malt, roasted barley, and Cascade hops, 5.67% ABV and 25 IBU. Looks very amber, very caramel in color, see-through, not hazy.
That's got a nice color to it.
I get a malty scent on the aroma.
Oh yeah. That reminds me almost of an Irish red.
Oh, it's so malty. Yeah.
In a good way?
But you also get chocolate.
Taste everything.
So far.
So good. Thank you.
Oh, that is unexpectedly.
A little bit of chocolate note.
Yeah, that is
Very subtle.
I would do a whole pint of this.
I know.
I
you
may
like
do
that.
a whole pint of this. That is.
Well, we have to do your last beer. And then what I want to know is, what would you get a pint of having had all the samples?
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
What I like about the way we're doing this is that we're both tasting each one and then all are different.
yes, we
So
have
we're
actually
sampling
not.
10.
Yeah, and we haven't overlapped a single beer.
Right.
All right, so I'm finishing off mine with a very odd offering. It's their Imperial Coconut Ale.
Interesting.
You would think coconut ale, you don't think Alaska.
No.
high alcohol, slightly malty, creamy, and smooth from the menu. A half pound of honey per gallon is used to attain the high yet seductive alcohol level. Alcohol,
Honey?
9% ABV.
Did you say honey?
Honey,
Same thing as what I had earlier.
24 IBUs. So I'm very curious about this. This is
And the Imperial Blonde.
a medium gold color.
Yeah.
Darker in terms of the golden color than any of the others that I've had.
It looks more like the Imperial Blonde, which uses the honey to achieve high gravity as well.
Yes. I'm not smelling any coconut on this.
No? And you don't like a coconut that uses like an artificial kind of flavor. So,
And I don't think that they're using a coconut extract here.
yeah.
I get the honey, and I'm maybe getting a hint of coconut in the nose when I swallow.
Okay.
What do you think? Now it's a heavier body. That's a medium to heavy body,
The mouthfeel right away
Yeah.
is heavier.
100%.
But it's like
That's very pleasant, actually.
I don't get a whole lot of coconut. I get a hint of honey.
It's more honey than coconut, I think.
Yeah. It's more akin to the Imperial Blonde
Yes.
that I had in my flight. And that's not a bad thing. I think it's very flavorful.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay, so we've done 10 beers.
yeah, we've sampled 10.
Yes. What do you think? Which one would you have a full pint of? Out of your flight and then out of my flight?
That is probably the raspberry was very refreshing and subtle.
Okay. The
So-
raspberry wheat.
Yeah, it would have to be between the Imperial Blonde and the raspberry wheat. But oh my God, it's so hard to choose because the amber has the caramely notes that I love. So I guess if I was going for higher gravity, I might do the Imperial Blonde. If I was going for a lighter taste, I would go to the raspberry. But maybe traditionally, just like the amber is fantastic. So I might have a whole thing of the amber.
Okay. That's a good call. Now,
You?
how about out of my flight?
The blonde is excellent in your flight
It really is.
as an everyday kind of drinker, easy drinking hot weather beer.
Yes.
So yeah, you
Okay.
now you.
I think that out of your flight, I would probably go with your amber.
Yeah.
I really like that one. I
That's
think
very
that's delicious, easy drinking.
Yeah,
That one
Yes.
kind of stands out to me.
caramely notes, chocolate, hint of chocolate.
In mine, since I only have one dark beer in my flight, I'm going to say the Oatmeal Stout for sure.
Really?
And then in addition to that, I would really go with the Fireweed Courage. That first one that
Cool.
has that very light, crisp, that I called the hot
Yeah,
weather beer.
that's a very nice one.
It is just so refreshing.
Yes.
So great choices here.
I think they have a wide variety on the menu in terms of the gravity of the beer, but also in terms of the flavor profiles. And some are very similar, but I think overall you would find for anybody who was into beer, a flavor for all palates.
Yes.
And like last time we came, we had different ones. Like the key lime, I remember, was excellent.
Yeah.
Here.
Surprisingly, you wouldn't of all the places
And like
to get a key lime
we're
beer.
from Florida, so yeah. So I think their beer game is very, very strong here
It is.
at Glacier Brewhouse.
So, would you recommend this place to come not only for food, but if you just wanted to come and get a beer?
Yes, I would.
I agree completely.
Strong game.
It's beautiful. The decor in here has a lot of exposed wood,
Quintessential
and stone.
Alaska.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And then off in the distance, you can see the brewery through a glass wall.
Yeah.
They've done an amazing job on the decor here. So, if you're in downtown Anchorage,
Yeah.
this is going to be walking distance from any of the hotels in the downtown area. Walk on over, get a pint, or get a flight.
To have some variety
Yeah.
and experience what Alaska has to offer.
It was a great meal, and we had a variety in our flights.
We did. And I think that the thing I'm happiest about, aside from the amazing food and beverage that we had there, was the fact that this place was absolutely packed. We were on a wait to get in, and it would seem that they have weathered the storm of the pandemic very well. At least
Yes.
I certainly hope that that's the case.
I think last time we had an open table reservation, and they may still be on open table. So it would be advantageous to make a reservation, I would say.
Absolutely. Especially as cruising starts making a big comeback. This is a popular spot for
No
people
joke.
who may have a layover? Is it called a layover on a cruise? Who may be stopping over either before or after their cruise, and they're staying in Anchorage at one of the big hotels. This is a place that's very popular because it's walking distance to the Hilton, to the Marriott. So
True enough.
So if you're thinking about going there, avail yourself of the opportunity for open table or call ahead for reservation.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I wasn't kidding. That is the last of our content for the regular show from Anchorage, Alaska. We need an excuse to go back there or somewhere else in Alaska. So we're going to be on the lookout for another race up that way.
I love our time there on both trips, and I can't wait to get back there. Although I know we need to feature a different race, a different town,
Well, there are other races. There are other towns.
I know.
I'm not afraid to go explore. So if you guys can think of a great race we should check out in and around Anchorage, Alaska, or some other city in Alaska, let us know. And in fact, that leads us to what I was going to ask everybody to do. We want to not only know about where to run, eat, and drink.
Of course.
We also want to know about your accomplishments or accomplishments you want to share with
From
the
others.
Runcation
Yes.
Nation.
If you're shy about yours, shout out someone else you know in the Runcation Nation that needs a celebration of their accomplishments. info@runeatdrink.net. That's info@runeatdrink.net. Attach an audio file or write it out and we will share either way.
And of course, we mentioned our phone number earlier. If you don't want to, attach an audio file, if that's just, too much technology for you, call us the old-fashioned way at 941-677-2733. That's 941-677-2733. Leave us a voicemail.
Yeah.
And shout yourself out, shout out a friend, tell us about something that you want us to celebrate here on the Run, Eat, Drink podcast.
Thank you all so much for listening, for joining us on your long run, your commute to work, as you're cleaning the house or cooking, wherever you are. I'm your host, Amy.
And I'm your co-host, Dana.
Stay safe, stay well, and we will accomplish, explore, and indulge with you really soon. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Run, Eat, Drink podcast. We're having another great year thanks to your support. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Run, Eat, Drink Podcast. And on Twitter, we're Run, Eat, Drink Pod. You can also give us a call at 941-677-2733 or send us an email at info@runeatdrink.net. Visit our website at runeatdrink.net and click on the subscribe link so you don't miss a minute. Find out how you can support the show at patreon.com/runeatdrinkpodcast. Accomplish, explore, and indulge right along with us. We'll talk to you next time.